Okay, guys, here we're going to carry on here with today's traditional analysis. So with a late flurry of votes here, the New Zealand dollar ended up being the top request. So this is we're really kind of this is just picking up where we left off. We looked at this, I don't know, 3-4 weeks ago. Now, let's see here, just a quick review here. So we're operating off of the assumption that off of my 2009 low, I've got a motive wave into this pivot here, and I'm in the process of working through, I've got an RB here to complete an ABC. Now, a couple things quickly to note, right? We'd always check, see, did we lose the buy side algo? So let me get that, which we did. So swing high to swing low, all right, we're right into our double top. Well, here's the break. So we've broken the 65. Now, interestingly, look where the 3 note pivots here. All right, so you got a little slop here, but that is interesting that we got a reaction right at the 618. So at this point, we're playing for the idea that there's another push down here. We've got an algo target. Now you'll note I've got a modified shift on here. So let me clear some of this up here, just so it's easier to see. Okay, so I've got a modified shift on this, which of course is just a channel, right? So if I just drew it this way, I just like pitchforks here. So right, center line would be the same as the median line here in a channel or modified shift. So from this pivot, the rip down looks like our A. Now there's pretty good amount of complexity in here. All right, so and we've been through this before, but for new members, we got a lot of new members in of late. So we'll just do a quick review here. So it does look like I can get my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into an A wave here at the pivot off of my initial A down. So I've got an A, then it looks like I go A, B, C to give me my B at this degree. So A, B, C into the B. And then I got to go up into a C here, and I just sort of run out of gas. So in effect, I have a truncation in the C here, which gives me, as I'm proposing it here, this is our C, so the ABC is here. So from this low, we get an A, B, and up into the C here. Right? It's not ideal. You wouldn't script it that way by choice. Probably another way to count this, but the 5 down here is pretty solid. So this ABC looks good. Now this is, I'm here on a daily, so there's a little bit of a push to get this C wave. So you've got to go 1, 2. You got to pull the 3, 4, 5 out of that line. Now we go down to a 30-minute. We can get it. Diagonal into the 1. Here's the 2. Down for the 3. Now we go into a triangle. So let's go to the 4 hour here and take a look at it. So here we see this a little bit better. It does look like we've got so coming from a low here. So the full pivot would be here. A, B, C, D, and we're up for the E. Gives us our triangle in the 4th, and now we've broken down. So looks pretty solid here, right? So that's the geometry is quite good. This is a bit of a pump wick. So down we come, quickly rejected, but then we go into that triangle formation. So the A, B, D, C, D, E looks good here, right? All of this pretty not terribly difficult to get this one, but now coming down here, we're just going, it's essentially straight. So we've got a few very shallow retracement. So it looks like 1, 2, 3, so it looks like you'd have to do it this way. So you'd have to get your 1, 2, I will have to measure 3, 4, 5 to see, looks like if that could be done. Let's just check here. So sometimes, right, this is where you can use these fib relationships. So that looks pretty solid. So here we are right to the 50. So you can see here's a standard, right? This algo is all over FX. Right? So here you retrace. So here's the pivot, retrace right to the 50, right to first target. We get a reaction. Now we've gone through. Right? There could be some more legs to this. Hard to say. Right? So now, one thing to note: always, when you're trading FX, I don't care what time frame you're trading, you have to check the calendar to see what kind of reports could be coming up. So if we have a completion here, if this, in this case, would be an impulse, if this impulse is complete, well, it certainly sets up for the potential here that we're putting in the A, the B, and the C are yet to come. So, but here you've got to check, right? So coming into tonight and tomorrow, we've got all high impact. Now I'm just over here on Forex Factory. Most of you are familiar with this. Good place to go. I mean, you can get it right in. You can get it right in. Oh, here's my calendar here. So you can get it right here in TradingView. You don't have to go over to Forex Factory. I'm just used to it. So we can see all of this New Zealand information, but you can get it right. I'm just used to coming here. So I see high impact New Zealand dollar tonight, and then follow up tomorrow and tomorrow night with their budget release. So you just have to know that volatility is potentially about to come into the market. You can't just ignore that. You can't just trade blindly and go, oh, well, I got a retracement, so it must be. Because those kind of high impact events, FX is so hypersensitive to just the latest whiff of any potential change in central bank policy that you just have to know when those are there. So it's not to say it's not tradable, but if you're not in yet, personally, I'd wait until we get through that volatility, right? Just to see how the market responds to it. So if there's a surprise, you can get really violent moves. You see it relatively frequently in FX, right? Any sort of a surprise number at all, and right, the algos are all over it, right? It happens so fast. Now, so this is also a good example of why I encourage you to stay 4 hours and above in FX, so that you don't get caught up in all of this chop, right? So we from a distance here, we can see it, right? We get a clear level, but if you're down on the, you're down in the 15-minute where this looks like it's gigantic, right? Look at the chop here. Up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. It's just all over the place. So you really have to step back to let the structure show itself so you can see it. Now, when you step out here, now here even a 4 hour, I'll stay 8 hour, 12 hour. I want to see where are we, right? This kind of very hard to trade that on the short-term basis, right? Because everything looks gigantic. Step out here. Oh, I got a nice little 1-2. Looks like I've got a 3 going in. I got a clear 5 going up, right? So now I can see that triangle shaping here. So at this point, can we go down and get that? Well, let's put the bigger fib pulls on it. So the 2 to the 3 back to the 50. I'm going to have a lower algo target right down here. Right, you can see that's why I've got the 5 here. So if this is going to be realized from our 50 here, right, no reason to assume it wouldn't be. That puts us down here, and that would give us some decent symmetry. That's going to look a whole lot better. So we'd have 1, 2, 3, complexity in the 4. We'd come down for the 5. Not terrible. I suppose there's a chance this could get relabeled. We could trade it as 1, 2. That's just out of curiosity. Just to see what that relationship would look like. So let's get this right dialed in there. It's possible. It's possible. Kind of, you'd have to rework the count here. That may be something to consider depending on how far this goes. So right now, there is a little diagonal here. So if I can go 1, 2. All right, let's go to the 2 hour here and see if that. Make sure we're not getting this wrong here. I want to come back here. See, you got to get the 1, 2, 3. You got to work an A, B, C here into the 1. Right, so essentially we have a double top here. So I'm more inclined to go here. So the A, B, C, and you can see the subdivision into the C. It still looks fairly solid. So I'm inclined to stay with this unless I get something unusual over here. The only hesitation is, so if you look at it here, it's the length of time. Oh shit, let's go to the 4. Back to the 4. The 2 relative to the 4. Right, so we've got just this tiny little 2 here relative. TradingView is a pain in the ass sometimes. Okay, relative to this 4. The symmetry is not ideal. Now, if this becomes something bigger, right, so if we end up doing something along these lines here, a little bit better symmetry. So I'm not ready to go there yet because the 1, 2, 3, now that's an extreme for the 3rd relative to the 1, 2. So you just want to be cautious of that, right? It's just no, right? We never know. You don't know. Or this is not a crystal ball here, but we can just create the probability zone. So what dominates my thinking here, I've got a dominant pivot, dominant low into a 50. So I know what the algorithms did last. So obviously with that and then this straight rip down here, the bias is obviously to the short side. But at this point, it looks like I've completed that first impulse down. So I wouldn't be surprised at all that we get some sort of an internal retracement of this entire move. So let me get this put back together. So from my pivot up here at the 50 through my pivot low here, I'm going to have a high probability zone right here. So if this starts to come back and we get this now this could take a month. We get that kind of move. Well, remember, all that's doing is setting, this would be the 1, this would be the 2, right? We're going to get a bigger 3. So there's more opportunity here if this count is going to hold for this to get much lower. So then you start looking at that. Let me go back to the 8 hour. And you see, well, how is that symmetry going to play relative to the length of the 1? So, is this going to be too much a cluster? Here, let me take this off so you can see it. Standard, just looking for wave relationships that would be consistent. Okay, so just length of the 1 projected from the last pivot before I head down. Well, here's the nice little confluence zone here where I've got, look at this. So I've got the 2618, the 1618, and my first algo target. All right, so this would be my target right there. Okay, so pretty good zone here. So we'll call that 61.94 in that range here. So here's my sliding. Well, this is my upper parallel on this set of median lines. I've got the 2.5 here in case we were to kick out of that. But right now, this is all right, just beautiful. Right? So we actually want the retrace. So the trade that is setting up here, it's not the buy here. I wouldn't be buying this ahead of that major news coming into the market, but I'd be looking for the opportunity to sell into that. That's a pretty good size move. What are you going to get there? That's short position here, so let's just split the difference. We'll use a stop up here down to these lows. Let me pull this over so we can see it. Almost 6 to 1. You don't have to give it that much room. You might tighten it up a little bit there if you don't want to give it that much. Now, note I'm on an 8 hour chart, so that's a pretty good size move here. All right, so you got to be realistic about what's appropriate. Pardon me, wrong word. You have to be conscious of the level of risk to your account size. So because FX, we can trade in the micros and with minis, and you can split this up. So you don't be careful about getting over leveraged here. There's just never any reason to do it. If you just need a ballpark, keep it at 2% of your account size. Don't let that stop. You don't need to do something like that. Well, number one, look what it does to the risk reward. Right? We're not even at 3 to 1. 3 to 1 is a minimum. Well, here, you're giving it plenty of room. There's 4.5 to 1. I wouldn't even give it that. The most I'd give it is right here. Now, note here. So look for pivots to the left that might be potential resistance coming back up. So I've got my A and my B. So that's a great. So perfect. So pivot, prior support, potentially now the resistance. So if I'm giving this maximum amount of room, I'm just on the other side of this pivot high here. It gives me plenty of room, giving it plenty. Shit, I don't even know that we're there yet, but just trying to set up a trade. So what I end up with there, 5.83 to 1. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. Now keep in mind that if we're going to get even a bigger, if we're going to get a true 1, 2, 3, there's potential for that to go even lower. All right, so 1, 2, let's see. I'm going to have to push that off. I'm not going to be able to get at this. Can I get that? Yeah, so if we're going to get a bigger 3, 1, 2, all right, if we're going to get a 1, 6, 1, 8, probably not that far. So then you've got the potential for this to set up, and then we keep going. All right, so just right by the book. Nothing unusual there. So just even to kind of tighten up even more. So if we get, now I don't have this, right? So this is a guesstimate. Something like this. All right, there's our 1618, our high probability zone. So we just bring this all up here. Maybe we get something along those lines here. We get our little corrective 4. We come down here. Maybe we finish like that. 1, 2, 3. All we can do is just lay out a roadmap here, but I've got a nice fat target here. So this could be potentially first place to take a profit. Look for some sort of sideways wave 4 here, and then for this to carry on. Again, no reason to assume that it wouldn't, unless we get some sort of a surprise tomorrow that shocks the market, right? And this trend starts to break down, and then we go up here, and we're coming back up to challenge this level. Now the count starts to break down. All right, but again, no reason to assume that. Let's get through the volatility, see how we do here, and see if that sets up nicely enough for us here. We've got just a nice zone to get into the market, plenty of cushion to let a little volatility come into the market, and then look for that move down, and then eventually this 345 to get realized. All right, so nice setup. All right, guys, back to you. I'll try and squeeze one more in if I can.